Chapter 8 The Squirrels and the Great Tail Debt. Far above the forest floor, in the thick branches of an old oak tree, lived two squirrels, Betty and Lotta. Anyone who ever visited their tree quickly learned that although they shared a home, they did not share the same approach to life. Betty believed in order. She believed in neatly stacked nuts, perfectly brushed fur, and labels on absolutely everything, including one large dramatic sign that read, "Do not touch." If she could have labeled the sun, she would have. Lotta, meanwhile, believed in possibilities, mostly chaotic ones. Her tail was always a mess, her thoughts even more tangled, and her guiding life principle, painted on a crooked piece of bark above her nest, was, "Tomorrow I'll start a new life." Tomorrow had never arrived. One morning, Lotta awoke with her tail puffed up so wildly it looked like she'd been struck by lightning. She gasped. "This is a sign, a real sign. Something is wrong with my destiny." She immediately rushed across the branches to visit the Martin Oracle, an eccentric fortune-teller with a shiny headscarf and a dramatic sense of importance. The Martin spread her mysterious cards with a flourish, squinted as if peering into the very soul of the universe, and declared, "You carry a debt, a great and forgotten debt. Return what you owe, and your life will change forever." Lotta gasped again, this time because she loved how intense it sounded. "A debt? Me? But I haven't borrowed anything." And then she stopped, froze, blinked. "Oh no," she whispered. "The tail. The ceremonial tail. Months ago, 2 months, but in squirrel memory that was practically an ancient era, Lotta had borrowed Betty's most prized possession, the ceremonial tail of elegant occasions, a fluffy, decorative tail Betty wore whenever she wanted to look exactly 20% more impressive. Lotta had taken it for a quick and beautiful photo, tripped over a root, rolled through a bush, and watched the tail vanish forever. Lotta's ears drooped. I owe her a tail. Determined to fix her mistake, she leapt down the branches and gathered materials that she believed any reasonable squirrel would consider tail-like. She found 2 clumps of soft moss, a handful of bright feathers, a piece of old hunter's hat, fluffy enough to be useful, forgotten enough not to be missed, and a strip of bark for style. Hours later, Lotta stood proudly beside the result of her creative effort, a huge, oversized, aggressively fluffy substitute tail. She dragged it home with a dramatic ceremony. "Betty," she announced, "I am finally repaying my debt. Behold, your new and improved tail." Betty stared. The tail stared back. Several feathers fell off just from her glare. "Lotta," she said slowly, "that is not a tail. That is a forest explosion." But Lotta insisted, her eyes shining. "It's better than the original. Look how fluffy it is, and it even moves a little if the wind blows in, just the right." Betty sighed in defeat and allowed Lotta to attach the tail. That was her second mistake of the day. The moment the tail was fastened, it activated every bit of wild static in the moss, feathers, and hunter hat fluff. It pulled in loose leaves, then twigs, then pine cones, then a very confused rabbit, and then another rabbit who was simply standing too close. Betty stumbled backward, unable to shake off the growing cluster of debris and wildlife now glued to her tail. She rolled right out of the tree, down a soft hill, and bumped straight into the training grounds of the Spiral Hedge Masters, the forest's most earnest and least coordinated group of hedgehog martial artists. The hedgehog master watched the rolling, leaf-covered, rabbit-decorated Betty slide to a stop. He nodded with deep seriousness. "Observe," he told his students, "a powerful, new natural force. Approach with caution, or better yet, don't approach at all." Betty groaned. Lotta landed beside her cheerfully. "See? It worked. The prophecy said your life would change." Betty tried peeling a rabbit off her shoulder. "This," she muttered, "is not the kind of change anyone wanted." Lotta patted what she hoped was Betty's actual arm beneath the mess. "Just think of it as evolution." And somewhere above them, the Martin Oracle shouted from her tree, "No refunds. Your destiny is your own responsibility." Because in this forest, returning a debt could indeed change your life. Just never in the way you expect.